Celtic, because yet again, another loss. It has not been a good start for Wilfried Nancy, has it, tonight? At home as well against Roma. This was the marquee match of the day by far, and to lose by 3, Charlie, how is he going to reflect on this result?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you look at the situation, which is he's coming into a new club with big expectations. In Major League Soccer, you can roll out any lineup. You can try different tactics and lose a game, and there's no reason to panic. You can say, trust the process. Here, you have to meet the demands, which is winning now. You don't have a grace period. There's no leniency. So he comes in, he changes it drastically, changes the formation, changes the style. You go from Celtic playing largely direct, counter, to trying to play tiki-taka, building out of the back. Kasper Schmeichel always finding the ball at his feet, playing centrally to midfielders, checking. It was a disaster of a first half. Is
this loss on him, though, Nigel? Will the fans feel that way, or will they think you had one training session before the loss to Hearts, and today there was a lot of individual errors?
There's many layers you can look at it, Poppy. I think for me, for this, you'd have to say yes, the loss is on him in this one, because I feel that he's tried to implement his style far too quickly in a club that he's just got to. You talk about the Hearts game. He had a day before he took over the team where I felt that was the wrong decision. Sit back, let the staff that have been there take over. They were on an uphill climb from when Martin O'Neill came back into the club. They started to get the results, upward trajectory. You're playing top of the table. Sit back, learn a little bit more about your players. From that game, you could have looked to see how they composed or how they played in that Hearts game. Then you could take it into this game. You're playing in Europa League. You're playing Roma. This is not a Mickey Mouse club. This is a club that's in the Scudetto race in Serie A. Mm-hmm. And you want to take a team that's been very direct, like Charlie said, very organised and composed, to now play total football against a Roma side that hasn't had to make a lot of changes from when the last Ranieri had them, and taking them on an absolute up-to trajectory.
But can I tell you something, Nige? Celtic knew who they were hiring. Given all of this, given the timing of it all, it's not ideal that Martin O'Neill took the club, won 5 games in a row. You show up to the most important game against Hearts, and then after that, it's a match against Roma. They understood that they were getting this manager that plays a back three, complex, modern football with midfielders dropping in, overlapping from the wing backs.
On an interview, that's exactly what they know.
It's not like they went, who's the available manager? Let's put him in.
Listen,
like, if you want to make it a progression and not make it so drastic from one moment to the next, because it is almost black and white from what they were playing, you got to know who you're hiring.
No problem. Celtic knew who they're hiring, but at the same point, you as a manager, knowing what you're walking into. When you walk into Celtic or Rangers, like you said, it's a different pressure valve. You need to win straight away to get the fans on side. The fans are sceptical already. You know you're simple. You don't have to change. I don't like the word change. You know what you want to do, your principles.
Adapt.
You have to adapt. Adapting is different to changing. We're not telling you to not to be total football. Adapt in the sense of, all right, this is the players I've got right now. I know what I want to do, but I'm going to keep like this to get the results and slowly bring it in.
So what would you have done against Hearts then if you were Wilfried Nancy? Would you have come in and said, OK, boys, as you were today, and let me just sit back and have a look at everything?
100%.
You would have?
100%. Like let the staff who've been there before take it and say, right, carry on, and I can watch and learn. Because you watch and learn about your players. Then you've got time the week to build up to this game to know. I mean, it turned disastrous. You think Celtic fans care about playing total football now after they just got smacked by Roma at home? Second half, yes, was better. They showed a bit more character. You had to make changes. There was a better response. But we're sitting here watching it to say, one thing is true. He doesn't have the personnel there at Celtic right now to play how he wants to play.
Right.
It's a building, it's a process.
He doesn't have a Darlington Nagbe to come in, check in, turn, play in tight spaces. A player that you can rely on in the center of the park, that you don't have to ever worry about pressure. You know this guy's going to find the next option and get out of trouble. But they don't have that player.
I know what you're saying, but also it's a different quality level now. When you're talking about that, you look at Roma and what they've got and the fact they can bring on Leon Bailey. It's a different quality level of players. For me personally, I don't think he has the personnel yet for what he wants to do at Celtic. But will he be given the time? That's the problem. The fans will not be like
that won't be in question already, though, the time.
I don't know, because this is the thing. The media, once the doors open, they find a way to put extra pressure. How many shots did we see from the director, whoever was directing that game, of Wilfried Nancy on the sidelines? Like slow, tight shots on his face to get the expression.
Mannerism, every expression.
Listen, going back to the football and the tactics of it all, how do you begin to create this evolution for Celtic? Because clearly if they're trying to hire a manager like Wilfried Nancy, they want to change the way that they're playing. And maybe Nigel is right in the sense that you got to layer your approach. You can't just throw the kitchen sink at the players all of a sudden and take the Band-Aid off quick. You got to slowly add layers into the way that you're playing. And maybe, yes, it is. Go back to what they were doing because they clearly changed something that was working for them. Mm-hmm. Because it was a crisis before Martin O'Neill came. And Martin O'Neill figured it out, simplified it a little bit, and maybe from that simplification, you start adding layers if you're Wilfried Nancy and not from one month to the next change everything.
It's the same thing as Ruben Amorim. When Ruben Amorim came to Manchester United, didn't want a job at this time, do this, and then you look at what Manchester United have been through. Somehow, some way, he's still there. He's been given the time, the belief by the board. That might not be the same way Celtics.
They're going to give him time, though. They're going to give him time.
I hope they give him time.
No, they will
give him time. It takes time. Because, again, you look at another manager as an example, Iriola, when he took over at Bournemouth, went with maybe, 9 or 10 games without even a win or something. It was a real poor run and people would pound on him. And now you look at Bournemouth. When given time and the players say, look, they buy into the system. But I think with Celtic, it's a different pressure valve. That's what we have to understand. It's going to be a
process. I want to look at some of the player selection today. He put Kieran Tierney as a left center back in a back three. He looked so uncomfortable, a fish out of water. Maybe he plays at a left wing back position. And I know that when you looked at how Wilfried Nancy played at Columbus Crew, he took Amundsen, who was left back, and played him as a left center back, and he was phenomenal. And he's done that with Moreira, who played, he's moved him as a right center back. So you could see that he's trying to implement some of those ideas with this Celtic team, but the players are not the same, the pressure is not the same, and he might have to go back to the chalkboard and say, okay, maybe I go
back to the tactics board, which we didn't see today because those memes made of that at Connect 4 and Minecraft.
The first goal has nothing to do with tactics. That's all about mentality. That's all about being on the right side of a player defending a set piece. How is Scales going to be on the opposite side of Mancini, one of the biggest players that Roma have, a target? And then on top of that, I go to the tactics. Tierney was in no man's land. He's confused. He's circling all around. And Scales just didn't show up today. It's preseason right now for Celtic. And they can't afford to lose games like you can in a preseason.
I understand what you're saying. Like, it really is with a new manager coming in. But you've got to sit back as a manager with it and say, you can't do that. You can't think like that because, one, this is Celtic. Two, you're halfway through the season. They're not going to give you this time to get things right. The board have their own plan. They've got their own belief in him, what they see for the future. But right now, what he's trying to do, I think, is making it difficult for himself because, one, there was a group of fans or a certain amount of fans who probably weren't keen on the hire in the first place. And
would you be, by the way, as a player, would you be a bit judgmental for a manager to come from America, from Major League Soccer? Like, yes, of course, he's French, but as a player, Nigel, in this situation, would you have been a bit questionable at the very beginning?
No, I wouldn't, because I know my lane. I'm a player at the moment, and it's for the up top, the board to have their own identity. And then when I train with the manager, when we do training, and I have a few days with him, and then we see how he is at half-time or after game, and the team talks, that's when I'll make my decision on him to say, OK, maybe he might be the right man. Because, again, different clubs have different requirements. Coming through at Wimbledon wasn't the same requirements at Aston Villa. Coming Aston Villa is not the same requirements at West Ham. So different managers bring different
player profiles as well.
Right.
Outside of Kasper Schmeichel, who in here can say, who are you as a coach in the Celtic team? What have you done? All I can say is you're getting a quality manager, Wilfried Nancy. Obviously, he's coming from America. You might say, I look down on MLS. MLS is better than the Scottish Premier League. It's better.
Nige, you agree? Nigel's eyes were wandering.
Listen, the Scottish Premier League right now is in a problem. That's just the reality of it. You talk Celtic and Rangers, that's it. There's a reason why Paphos are in the Champions League and Celtic and Rangers, as big a football clubs they are, they're not there.
So you would agree MLS is better?
There's a few teams in the MLS definitely will give some Celtic teams a run for their money.
I think if you take away Celtic Rangers, we're having a conversation. Celtic Rangers are big clubs that have big budgets.
Without Celtic and Rangers, it's not even close.
Right.